Does love have an age limit? Or is it just something we imagine? When a 70-year-old man dares to fall in love again, will it be magic or a mistake? Stay with us, because the lesson he learns isn't just about love, but about self-worth. Have you ever wondered if the sacrifices you're making for love are truly worth it? In today's story, we follow a man in his 70s, still full of hope, longing for passion, and craving the kind of connection that reminds him he's alive. He steps into a relationship that feels like a second chance at youth, reigniting emotions he thought had been lost to time. At first, it's thrilling, a spark, a renewal of everything he thought was gone. But what starts as a tender romance soon becomes a costly pursuit, draining his dignity and sense of self. From the beginning, his friends were skeptical. They whispered their doubts, raised their eyebrows. His children were more direct, offering heartfelt warnings and genuine concern, and yet, deep inside, he still heard that whisper of longing. Is this the right path? At 70, he didn't just want companionship, he wanted passion. Not just warmth, but a fire. A chance to love, maybe for the last time. What began as a cautious step turned into a chase, then into obsession. He poured his heart, energy, and soul into this connection, convinced it was his final, true love. In the beginning, she felt like fresh air, a burst of light. She made him feel alive again, strong, magnetic, seen. She looked at him like he was still powerful, still desirable, and he responded with devotion. He gave her everything: affection, gifts, attention, praise. To him, she was a miracle, a gift he never expected to find so late in life. But even in the glow of something so beautiful, something quiet and uneasy had already begun. But even in the warmth of what felt like a new beginning, small cracks had already begun to form. At first, they were barely noticeable. Tiny suggestions, sweetly delivered with that same charm that had once captivated him. Naturally, he welcomed them, eager to make her happy. After all, wasn't that what love was? But over time, those suggestions grew more pointed. Her tone carried an edge, subtle at first, that he mistook for playful confidence. Something in her voice now spoke not just of charm, but of superiority. And he, still enchanted, didn't realize he was changing, bit by bit, to meet her unspoken standards. Every time he shifted who he was to accommodate her desires, he lost a piece of himself. But to him it felt worth it, because with every adjustment he believed he was getting closer to her heart. As months passed, her warmth cooled, her affection thinned. What was once compassion now came laced with a quiet mockery. She began making remarks about his age, veiled as jokes but cutting deep. Men your age should really take better care of themselves, she'd say with a smirk, as if he was something that needed fixing. He laughed it off at first, but the jokes kept coming, and each one chipped away at his confidence, the very confidence he'd worked so hard to rebuild. He began to feel like a stranger in his own skin. No longer the man he once was, but someone desperately trying to keep her attention. And then came the final blow. She criticized the intimacy between them. To him, love was more than physical connection. It was warmth, presence, tenderness. But to her, those things weren't enough. You're slow, she said, predictable, lacking passion. Her words cut deeper than she knew. He tried to reassure her, tried to explain that love, especially at his age, wasn't about frenzy, but depth, but she didn't listen, and in a last-ditch effort to prove he was still worthy, he reminded her of the things no younger man could give. But what happened next would challenge everything he believed. But what he didn't expect was that his most vulnerable confession, the heartfelt offering of love and wisdom he had gathered over a lifetime, would be met with mockery. Though he no longer had the vigor of youth, he still knew how to offer a woman pleasure through presence, through tenderness, through the emotional intimacy of words. It was a truth spoken from experience, from a man who had lived, loved, and learned. But instead of softening her, it brought cruelty. She laughed. Not a warm, joyful laugh, but one laced with ridicule. That sound stripped his words of dignity, turned his vulnerability into something she considered pathetic. Her mockery stung like salt on an open wound, burning and corroding what was left of his pride. Still he held on, telling himself maybe this was just a phase, a challenge to test the strength of his devotion. Maybe, just maybe, if he stayed patient, she would finally see how deeply he cared. He clung to the belief that love, when steadfast and true, could still win her over. That eventually she would see him, not as an old man, but as a devoted partner. But day by day, her words kept carving away at his self-esteem, pushing him deeper into doubt. Until he no longer saw himself as a man worthy of love, just a shadow of who he once was, desperately trying to hold on to someone who saw him as outdated, replaceable. To outsiders, his decision to stay made no sense. Friends who knew his pain were baffled. Why endure such disrespect? Why allow yourself to be diminished by someone who clearly doesn't value you? But those who've loved deeply know love binds, even when it hurts. It wasn't her he stayed for. It was the memory of how she once made him feel. Young, alive, chosen. And even though the love had soured, he couldn't let go. Not just because of her youth, but because of the illusion she represented. The hope that he could still be seen, still be desired. But one night, after a particularly cruel confrontation, where she reduced him to less than he had ever felt, he stood alone, staring into the mirror. Looking back was a man aged by time, with lines etched by life, and eyes heavy with unsaid truths. And in that stillness, he knew. The time to let go had finally come. After all the pain, all the silent nights spent staring into the mirror, he finally saw himself. Not just the wrinkles or grey hairs, but the reflection of someone who had lived fully. Someone who had loved deeply and survived heartbreak. And in that moment of stillness, he realized something. Self-love must speak louder. He could no longer allow himself to be diminished by someone who would never accept him for who he truly was. With quiet resolve, he sat across from her. His tone was calm, his words honest. He told her he loved her, yes, but he could no longer endure the constant pain and subtle humiliation. He said, clearly and without hesitation, I choose myself. I choose peace over a love that drains me. She was stunned. Her expression froze in disbelief, as if it had never crossed her mind that he would have the strength to leave. But in that exact moment, something awakened within him. The first flicker of dignity returning. The same dignity that had slowly eroded with every cutting word, every dismissive glance. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was freeing. For the first time in years, he felt like he was truly acting his age, not in a way that signified weakness, but in the wisdom and grace that only come from age and experience. As he stepped outside her home, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. A heaviness he hadn't even realized he was carrying suddenly lifted. He thought back on his life, the chapters he had lived, the memories he carried. And he understood. His worth didn't vanish with time. It had deepened. Not everyone can see true value, especially those who only fixate on the surface. He had lost himself trying to gain her approval. But by walking away, he reclaimed not only his pride, but a quiet kind of serenity that only self-love can bring. Of course, the days that followed were not easy. The silence was deafening at first. But it was an honorable kind of loneliness, one that didn't come from chasing validation, but from choosing dignity. He began to find peace in his own company. And slowly, the world opened up again. Unexpected joy returned. He reconnected with old friends, the kind who loved him exactly as he was. He traveled to places he once only dreamed of. He revived old passions that had long been set aside. And little did he know, something even more surprising was about to unfold. Something that would remind him that life isn't done giving. After all the traveling, the reunions with old friends, and the quiet rediscovery of himself, he returned to something he had once forgotten. Simple joys. He found peace in the soft rhythm of painting, in the pages of books he used to love. Gone were the days of waiting for someone's approval or bending himself to win affection. Now he woke up to the gentle comfort of knowing he was enough, just as he was. As time passed, it became clearer. His value had never rested in the hands of a younger woman. It lived in the quiet satisfaction he found within. A peace rooted in embracing every part of himself, including the scars and silver strands. He began to see aging as a gift, not a curse. A gift that came with deeper understanding, with the grace to know what truly matters. Every line on his face was a story. Every grey hair, a badge of honor earned through joy, pain, love, and loss. To those growing older and questioning their worth, his journey offered a gentle, yet powerful reminder. Love is a treasure, but it should never cost you your peace. Time teaches what youth cannot, that self-respect is priceless, and it must be fiercely guarded. Looking back, he saw that his past relationship, though painful, had been necessary. It taught him something vital. Before anyone else can truly love you, you must first love yourself. Completely, flaws and all. Leaving her wasn't just about ending a romance. It was about reclaiming himself. It was about putting his own heart ahead of the endless search for someone else's approval. His story is living proof that self-love is not a luxury. It's a necessity, especially as the world grows quieter and the noise fades. The voice that must remain strong is your own. Only those who've lived long enough truly understand. A person's worth isn't measured in youth or appearance, but in how they face life's storms. Each wrinkle becomes a badge of honor. Each grey hair whispers of wisdom, and the greatest lesson he left behind. True strength is not holding on to what weakens you. It's the courage to walk away and choose peace. Now, let us move into the first lesson his experience brings to light. The myth of young love, and the truth hidden behind its dazzling glow. From his lesson on self-love, he came to understand that, just like in any other part of life, love should be a place of comfort, respect, and mutual care. It should never be a battlefield where we constantly strive to prove our worth, nor should it be a stage where we perform just to be accepted. Real love allows us to simply be, without fear, without pretenses. The desire for fun, adventure, or novelty is human, but it should never replace the deeper need to be seen, understood, and valued by someone who cherishes our true self. This story powerfully illustrates a hard truth. We cannot love another more than we love ourselves. While he endured mockery and hurtful comments about his age and ability, believing it was noble to be patient, he eventually realized what he called endurance was actually the slow erosion of his self-worth. A healthy relationship cannot grow on the soil of self-sacrifice, and without self-respect, we are left vulnerable to manipulation and mistreatment. Everyone, no matter their age, deserves love and dignity. But to receive it, we must first claim it for ourselves. Lesson 2. The courage to embrace solitude as a path to inner peace. When he walked away, it wasn't just a breakup. It was the breaking of a chain of humiliation, self-doubt, and emotional erosion. In doing so, he reclaimed his story. Solitude often feels frightening, but in the quiet it brings a sacred space opens, a space to heal, to listen inward, and to breathe again. When we choose to be alone, not out of bitterness but out of clarity, we give ourselves a rare gift, the freedom to rebuild, to redefine, and to rediscover who we are. Lesson 3. Valuing experience and honoring wisdom as we age. As time goes on, it's not smooth skin or bright eyes that define us. It's the memories we carry, the wisdom we've earned, and the roads we've walked. These are the treasures age leaves behind, more lasting than fleeting beauty. His story reminds us every wrinkle is a mark of survival. Every crease tells of love, loss, growth, and courage. Those who chase only youthful beauty will always stay on the surface, never knowing the depth that time creates. Aging teaches us to see differently, to look beyond appearances, and to find value in what truly lasts. Now we move on to a deeper truth. Lesson 4. When dignity erodes beneath the desire to be loved, when we stop chasing appearances and start embracing our personal history, inner strength, and earned wisdom, we unlock a richness that far outlasts any youthful glow. We begin to attract people who see and cherish our essence, not just our surface. Instead of clinging to illusions of eternal youth, we should honor the deep emotional connections and profound wisdom born from a life fully lived. Lesson 4. The priceless value of dignity. One of the story's most powerful revelations is this: dignity is beyond price, and as we grow older, it becomes one of our most precious possessions. Dignity isn't just about posture or pride, it's about inner strength, self-respect, and how we treat ourselves during our lowest moments. Love is beautiful, yes, but it should never come at the cost of our dignity. He realized that his worth didn't depend on anyone's opinion or the number of candles on his birthday cake. It was in how he faced life's challenges. Dignity means never shrinking yourself to please others. It's the quiet confidence of knowing you are enough. Every wrinkle on his face became a badge of wisdom, every grey hair a crown of resilience. For those in their later years, his journey offers a timeless reminder. Dignity and self-respect are treasures that far outweigh fleeting validation. Lesson 5. True intimacy comes from kindness, not guilt or obligation. Though he no longer looked like the man he once was, he believed love could still be expressed in gentle, tender ways. Acts of closeness, like thoughtful physical affection, were not about proving something. They were about giving. His willingness to prioritize his partner's happiness over his pride showed that intimacy is about emotional generosity, not ego. But he also learned a vital truth: respect must always come first. Lesson 6. Real love must be mutual. Pleasure is a beautiful part of love, but when it becomes a tool to manipulate, control, or shame, something vital is lost. He came to see that true connection must be mutual. Love cannot flourish where there is imbalance. Every relationship must be rooted in respect, not duty, not guilt, but genuine devotion. And now we arrive at the deepest realization of all. Lesson 7. Self-love is the foundation of every healthy relationship. After realizing that true love must be rooted in mutual respect and unwavering dignity, the man in our story came to an even deeper understanding. To be truly close to someone, we must honor every act of theirs and never weaponize love against them. This is a call to reflect on self-love and dignity. If this story spoke to your heart, if you believe these lessons might help others rediscover their peace and confidence, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with those who might be struggling to find their self-worth in love or in life. Often, it is the wisdom of those who've endured hardship that teaches us the most vital lesson: to love ourselves and to treat ourselves with unwavering respect. As we reflect on the journey, one truth becomes undeniable. True aging is not decay, but return to our values, our dignity, and our inner truth. Seeking companionship at any age is a natural and beautiful desire. But as this story powerfully illustrates, love should never come at the cost of dignity. At one point, he thought he had to prove his vitality, to become someone he wasn't, just to be accepted. But eventually he realized true strength lies in staying grounded, in resisting shallow approval, and embracing the raw, powerful identity shaped by years of living. Each passing year adds more than age. It layers us with resilience, wisdom, and quiet power. These are the treasures we carry. This invisible legacy is what we truly pass on. As we grow older, our worth no longer comes from how others perceive us, but from the strength we discover within and the courage to stand tall in our own truth. The man in this story found his worth and his peace not by changing himself, but by accepting the entire arc of his life, and most importantly, by choosing to love himself first. And with that choice, he stepped into an ending no one saw coming, one that opened the door to a whole new beginning. After choosing to love himself and walk away from a painful relationship, the man in this story didn't just end a romance. He made a profound declaration of self-worth, a renewal of his spirit, and a return to his dignity. This story shines a light on a fundamental truth. Believing in self-love, self-acceptance, and self-respect is enough. These are the practices that help us stay grounded in the face of life's challenges. As we age, the fear of loneliness can tempt us to settle for less than we deserve, but this journey reminds us we are worthy of so much more. By walking away from relationships that fail to see our value, we honor the strength we've built. Over decades, every wrinkle, every gray hair, every memory, they're symbols of resilience. While society may idolize youth, There is deeper beauty in knowing who we are and standing firm in that truth. Those who've lived long enough to know what truly matters carry life's most valuable lessons. This man's journey is a powerful message to all, but especially to older individuals, that love and friendship are gifts, but they should never demand that we give up our essence. It takes great courage to look at your life, admit it's time to change, and make choices that protect your self-worth. For older people, this story serves as a powerful call. See solitude not as a punishment, but as a sacred chance to reconnect with yourself, rediscover forgotten joys, and redefine happiness on your own terms. This is a journey of healing, one that makes us stronger, not weaker, because it teaches us our worth. It reminds us that our value doesn't come from others' opinions, but from the quiet strength within. At a time when we may feel pressured to settle, this story encourages us to hold fast to our dignity, stay true to our values, and honor the person we've become through life's victories and hardships. If you're going through a similar struggle, remember, your worth lies in your wisdom, your honesty, and your strength. Your journey is irreplaceable and your inner value is unmatched. Inner peace and self-respect are treasures no one can take from you. Rising again after a fall is a quiet act of courage and proof of a life truly well lived. Now, as we reach the final moments of this powerful story, ask yourself, what have you learned about love, about self-worth, and about the dignity that defines you? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If this message resonates with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories and life lessons.